Hello viewers, my name is Parth and this is my first video on the channel Social Science on Your Fingertips for classes 3 to 8. Today I would be covering the chapter Agriculture of class 8 Geography. Agriculture is a subject with which we deal in our daily life. It is also a chapter which we all have been learning from class 6 and will be continuing till class 10. India, as you know, is a crop producing country. In India, we produce different types of crops, which are food crops, beverage crops, spices, herbs, etc. Agriculture includes fishing, crop production, rearing of livestock, etc. In this chapter, we will be learning about the types of sector which forms the base of the modern society. We will also be learning about agriculture, farm inputs related to it, machineries related to it, which are subdivided into primitive tools and modern tools. We would also be learning about the two types of farming, which, is, which are commercial farming and subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is also divided into two, which are intensive subsistence farming and primitive subsistence farming. And as for commercial farming, we will be discussing in our next part. We would also be having a question time in each of our part. So let's start. Types of sectors. Types of sectors is one of the most important topics which we have to learn as this forms the modern base of our society, as I had said. There are three types of sectors which form the base of modern society. The primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Before we go in detail about each one of them, I would like to give you one point about each. Primary sector is called the agriculture related sector. Secondary sector is called the industry sector. Tertiary sector is called the service sector. So now let's go in deep about the primary sector. Primary sector. Primary sector is the main and the most important sector of India. This sector is considered to be as the job providing sector. Now this comes as a one marker question. Why is the primary sector considered to be as a job providing sector? The reason being that this sector generates most employment in our country. More than 50% of our total working force is employed in this sector. Crop production, livestock rearing, and other tasks are linked to agriculture come under this sector. Sector mainly includes all those connected with extraction and production of natural resources. Next is the secondary sector. Sector covers activities in which natural products are changed into different goods through manufacturing. These goods are manufactured either in large-scale industries like factories or even in small scale like cottage production. For cottage production includes production of balls, footballs, etc. and factories include production of cars, aircraft, etc. This sector is called industrial sector as it is linked to industries. Tertiary sector. Tertiary sector. This sector is the sector which contributes the most to the gross domestic product. This sector is also called as service sector. This sector comprises of those activities that help in the development of primary and secondary sectors. Examples being transport, ATM, teaching, call centers, lawyers, barbers, etc. Well, like each coin has two sides, one the heads and the tails. Similarly, each sector has a positive point and a drawback. Let us discuss one point each about the drawback of each sector. First, let's take up primary sector. Primary sector, even though generates huge amount of employment, contributes less to the gross domestic product. And vice versa is for the secondary and the tertiary sector. Secondary sector and the tertiary sector contribute more to the GDP of the country, which is the gross domestic product, but generate less amount of employment. Now this arises as your 5-marker question. 5-mark question. 5 mark question being differentiate between primary secondary sector, secondary tertiary sector, primary tertiary sector, or differentiation between the three with 5 points each. Or it could even be an individual question like state the give a few points about the primary sector, few points about the secondary sector, or few points about the tertiary sector, which would be including 3 points about each sector, one example, and one drawback. So now we come to an end to the primary, secondary, and the tertiary sector. Next, we would go to our topic, which is agriculture, for which we all have gathered over here. So let's start with our topic, agriculture. Agriculture. The word the word agriculture is derived from the Latin word ager or agri, meaning soil, and culture, meaning cultivation or tilling of soil. Agriculture comes in the primary sector, as I had said. Agriculture includes fishing, livestock rearing, and farming. Two-thirds of the population of India is dependent on agriculture for its survival. Moreover, India is also a country that exports spices, herbs, tea, coffee, etc. to different countries. Favorable topography of soil and climate are vital for agricultural activity. The land on which the crops are grown is known as arable land. Favorable topography of soil and climate are indeed vital for agricultural activities. This I would be explaining in the second part where we would be covering about commercial farming, and in commercial farming we would be covering about the different crops produced in different soil and in different climates. And the word arable land, you will be knowing about it when you reach to class 10, when you would be learning about the different types of land available in India. Next is farm inputs. Different farming inputs are required before farming. They are HYB seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, machineries, tools, and the most important, a piece of land. Apart from this, the soil also requires water. There must be an abundant supply of water. Labor is also another important factor for cultivation. Rich landlords can appoint landless laborers on daily wages for a particular season. Like, for example, the demand for landless laborers increased during the harvesting season or during the sowing season or during the ripening season in different areas of our country. So rich landlords or medium landlords, according to their requirements, appoint these landless laborers. But in the case of small farmers who have small plots of land which are less than 1 acre, they cannot even afford laborers, and hence it is either the farmer of their family or the whole family working together to earn. Next is farming techniques. There are two types of farming techniques that are practiced in our country, India: primitive farming techniques and modern farming techniques. Well, one thing being common between both these farming techniques are they require input and labor. Now, this question can be asked as a difference, which could be even a 3 marker question, a 5 marker question, or a 1 marker question as well. So now, let's start with primitive farming techniques. Primitive farming technique. Primitive farming techniques are still used in rural India by small farmers who cannot afford to buy modern inputs. This is due to two reasons. One is that these are small farmers and hence cannot afford to buy modern inputs, as as the profit from the land they have is quite less. Secondly, the reason being is that the size of the land is small, so using modern inputs or not using modern inputs does not make quite a big difference for them. Primitive farming technique is less harmful but is indeed a tedious task to perform. Farmers with small piece of land use primitive farming techniques. This technique is also used by nomads during nomadic farming. The profit made from primitive tools is less as compared to modern tools. Well, this is the same thing. The primitive tools, uh, using the primitive tools, the profit that small farmers earn is less, and hence they still struggle to buy modern inputs. Subsistence farming also involves the use of primitive farming techniques and not modern farming techniques much. Primitive techniques consist of tools like plow, hoe, shovel, etc. And this is your 5 marker question once again. That is, write a short note on primitive farming technique. So let's go with modern farming techniques. Modern farming techniques. Modern farming techniques are used by medium and large land owners who have lands of more than 3 to 4 acres. Since the lands are big enough, they have enough amount of money to earn huge profits, to use modern machineries, and to appoint landless laborers according to their season, being it ripening, sowing, or harvesting. Next, the pesticides and insecticides used in these crops are harmful and dangerous for all living beings in the soil because this these types of insecticides and pesticides cause soil erosion, which leads to the depletion of soil. The working of modern inputs require electricity along with water. Farmers appoint laborers that ensure the functioning of these tools. The profit is twice or thrice as compared to primitive farming. Modern farming consists of tools like tractors, threshers, winnowers, etc. So this is also your 5 marker question to write a short note on modern farming techniques. Next, so now let's start with types of farming, which is our next topic. Farming is practiced in different ways around the world depending upon the geographical factors, climate, type of soil, and labor and proper supply of electricity and water. These requirements are usually required by large landlords and medium landlords because they require cheap labor and cheap but proper supply and abundant supply of electricity and water, whereas small farmers require proper geographical factors, climate and type of soil for growing crops with better production and better profit. Uh, uh, Farming can be classified into two types. There are subsistence farming and commercial farming. Subsistence farming. Basically, subsistence farming is a type of farming which is practiced by small farmers in particular who have small pieces of land to meet the needs of the farmer's family. Commercial farming. In commercial farming, crops are grown and animals are reared for sale in market. Now this is your another 1 marker question to differentiate between the two, or it can even come as a 2 marker question. Next is subsistence farming. Subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is a type of farming in which the majority of the produce is consumed by the family and the remaining, that is, a portion is left for selling. The motive of the farmer is not profit but the food requirement of family. Subsistence farming is of two types: primitive subsistence farming and intensive subsistence farming. As said, subsistence farming is usually done by small farmers who have small patches of land and with huge pressure. So now let's go on to our first topic, that is primitive subsistence farming, and then we shall cover up intensive subsistence farming. So without wasting time, let's go to primitive subsistence farming. Intensive subsistence farming first. Okay. Intensive subsistence farming. Intensive subsistence farming is practiced in area of high population pressure on land. It is a labor-intensive farming. This type of farming is practiced for higher production. The farmer cultivates a small plot of land using simple tools and more labor. Climate with large number of days with sunshine, fertile soil permit growing of more than one crop annually on the same plot. Rice is the main crop. So, as said, intensive subsistence farming is practiced in areas of high population pressure on land. It is a labor-intensive farming because the main crop grown over here is rice, and rice requires huge amount of water and cheap labor, which is indeed a tedious task for laborers. This type of farming is practiced for higher production. The farmer cultivates a small plot of land, at least 1 acre of land. The main crop is rice, and so the farmer usually looks for proper geographical location and a type of soil that can support the growth of rice with higher production. And yes, this type of farming is usually done to meet the needs of the family. And at times, the laborers of the working in this field or a plot of land are usually the members of the family. Next, we'll start with primitive subsistence farming. Primitive subsistence farming is practiced in few pockets in India by small farmers, particularly farmers who have plots of less than 0.5 acres, usually grow crops using primitive subsistence farming. Since the land is too small, they use primitive tools for growing their crops like hoe, dhow, and digging sticks, as the profit is not much, and moreover, their main motive is not earning profit but for fulfilling the needs of their family. Hence, they use primitive tools for on small patches of land because modern tools and primitive tools do not make a much difference on small pieces of land, as said earlier. This type of farming is dependent on factors like natural fertility of soil, climate, etc. Nomadic farming and shifting cultivation are included in this. Shifting cultivation is also called as slash and burn cultivation. Slash and burn cultivation. Okay. Slash and burn cultivation is usually done by nomads. In this, a small patch of land is cleared and a crop is grown on it. Once the fertility of the soil is lost, the another patch of land nearby to it is cleared and the crop is grown on it. After the natural fertility of the soil, after the fertility of the soil gets back, the same crop is grown on the same patch of land once again. Hence, natural fertility of soil is taken to be one of the most important factors in primitive subsistence farming. Fertility of soil, climate. So this is also a three-marker question to differentiate between primitive subsistence farming and intensive subsistence farming. Now, let's go to the most interesting part of the topic, that is question time. So, these are 4 questions which are based on what all we have learned in this session of ours. First question is, name the 3 different types of sectors. In which sector does agriculture come under? Second question is, differentiate between primitive farming techniques and modern farming techniques. 3 points of each. Third one is, differentiate between primitive and intensive subsistence farming. 2 points each. The fourth is, differentiate between subsistence and commercial farming. 1 point each. I have discussed each and every point in detail, so it must be easy for all of y'all to answer these questions. If you want, you can take help of the PowerPoint again. I would also be holding a session for doubt clearing, a doubt clearing session for all of y'all. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel Social Science on your fingertips for classes 3 to 8 to receive much more better content. And please do let me know what were the flaws in today's class in the comments below. If you have any doubts or queries, you can again post them in the comment box, and in the next session they would definitely be clear. Please share this video. In fact, please share the whole channel with all your friends, relatives, close ones, and whom and all those you know, because the more subscribers we get, the more confidence we will get. The more confidence we will get, the more number of videos we will be making for all of you. We would be holding doubt clearing sessions, a special question answer session in which we would be discussing all the types of questions at the end of each and every chapter, and social science will definitely be on your fingertips at the end of each session and the end of each chapter. So please like, share and subscribe to the channel once again. Social science on your fingertips for classes 3 to 8. And yes, before I leave, I would like to repeat the questions once again. Name the three different types of sectors. In which sector does agriculture come under? Differentiate between primitive farming techniques and modern farming techniques. 3 points each. Differentiate between primitive and intensive subsistence farming. 2 points each. Differentiate between subsistence and commercial farming. 1 point each. So please don't forget to share, like and subscribe to Social Science on your fingertips for classes 3 to 8. Here is Parth signing off for today, and we'll meet in the next session. Hope you enjoyed today's session. So please give a thumbs up and press the subscribe button with the bell icon clicked. Thank you.